question why you cook and why we do things. It's not just about throwing things in a pan and hoping for the best. Everything has got to be in stages. And by doing everything in stages, doing all those little jobs well, what you do is create those layers of flavour. And when you've finished, you have that intensity. And that's what cooking's all about. Intensity of flavour. Making food taste what it's meant to taste of.
The original recipe from my grandmother, so if you don't like it, you can complain to her, is duck leg, cover with salt, only coarse salt. Don't take the fine salt. Salt on top, turn it over, and salt. Do not worry, say, oh, is that too much salt? No, it's not too much salt. It got to be covered in salt. It was, suppose, in the old day, there was no refrigeration, so you had to, a way to conserve food was salt. That's how we got a lot of charcuterie, ham with conserved in salt. There is a reason why you got coarse salt, because salt will stay there. It will give the taste to the dish, remove the blood from the meat. But the fine salt will go too much inside. It doesn't work the same at all. So always coarse salt, always. So once it's in salt, it goes in the fridge up to 24 hours. Overnight is perfect, in fact. 12 to 24 hours is not important. That's the first stage of the coffee. Young chefs, I noticed, young chefs, they like to put a bit of thyme, a bit of bay leaf, something else, just to make it their own touch. It's not, to be honest, it's not necessary. It doesn't bring anything. So that's the first stage.
A technique of how do you check the oil to see if it's really hot or not, and not really by using a thermometer. None of us, most of us don't have gadgets and thermometers at home. We all go by estimates and go by recognition of the heat, or you look at certain things and you realize how hot it is. When you look at the oil in a pan, it may not look hot to you. You may just try and put your finger in. Never do that. You're going to burn it off. You can either put your hand slightly over the oil to feel the heat, or in another ways, sprinkle a batter. But in this case, let's say I put a piece of onion. You hear that? If it comes up, the oil is warm. It has. So that tells you that the oil is hot. If the onions had sunk till the bottom, means the oil was not warm enough. If it really comes up very violently and begins to char very quickly, that means the oil is too hot. So in that case, what do? Either if the oil is too hot, you can add a little more oil or lower the heat. Or if you feel that the oil is not hot enough, you crank up the heat and wait till the oil is perfectly the right temperature. Again, based on estimates, based on your recognition, based on your senses. So, you get to see, and that is how you actually communicate with food. You try and understand the science behind the food by looking at it. You can use expensive gadgets, there's nothing wrong with that. But when I was being trained as a young apprentice in the early 80s or mid 80s, I learned it purely by practice. I should learn to watch the masters or those stars who would cook back in India. And in those days, you were never allowed to learn, or you never taught anything as such. It was all by asking questions. And as a young apprentice of 17 years old, I used to carry a small notebook in my hip pocket and make notes. And everybody said, this guy is always asking questions. And the reason for that was I was hungry for knowledge. I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand the reasoning behind why do you add certain spices, why do you add certain flavors, how do you do certain things. And I would never get questions. So I always had a question mark. So when it came to my turn, where I was mentoring my stagiaires or my team at my restaurant, I made sure that everybody who walked through my kitchens got complete knowledge.
Process is very important in French cooking, because if you put everything together, it's called a soup. But if you caramelize, it's a sauce. It's two different things. And too many people think when you put everything in one pot and you got a good result. It doesn't work like that. You know, you got to follow a process. And there you got good result. You know, when you cook, you start cooking with your heart. You don't cook because you got a book in front of you. You know, a book is just a guide. He guides you, that's all. After the rest is all the love you put in that dish will make you having a fantastic result, you know.
Most people like to take their eggs and whisk them with a fork and turn them into baby food. I don't. Eggs in the pan, then I puncture the yolks and cook slowly. If my palm can't take the heat of the pan, then the pan's too hot. Once again, invest time. You make scrambled eggs creamy by cooking them slowly, not by cooking them fast. Don't mess with them. Eggs are one of the most natural things on earth. Why do you want to change it? In with the eggs. Just puncture them. Now, just work them slowly. And by working them slowly, what you want is ribbons. Ribbons of white and ribbons of yolk. There we are. Just work them slowly. The other side of the pan. My palm can take it just. That tells me it's the perfect temperature to create the perfect scrambled eggs. If you have to take your pan off the stove, then you're lacking understanding in temperature. Question why you're doing what you're doing. You can see how creamy the eggs are becoming without cream, and that's because we're not rushing them. Think about the length of time it's taken us to cook them. Just be patient. Never rush things. Never push things. If we push things, then we tend to break them. Just gently work her. Trust me when I say invest time. When you taste it, you'll see the difference. See, for me, they're now perfect. But I like my scrambled eggs the French way, not the English way.